this week on Unapologetic Uplift.
I feel like it's a little bit of a curse that I have so much patience and natural ability to handle things on the outside emotionally. I say that's a curse because it's betraying the truth, which is when things are really, really hard, I still seem like I'm fine. Guess what? I'm not. And my body is telling me that now.
We can do the mindset work. We can do all the love and light. But the reality is we all have the shadow side. We have to learn to love that part of us too.
Well, I've decided now, as part of all of this healing and the work that we do, Kim, is that I am no longer pretending that I'm not in menopause, pretending that I'm too young for menopause, pretending that menopause is nothing. I'm not pretending that anymore. And I've gotten very real for myself with what I'm going through actually. And I'm about to embark. I want you all to know this. You're all my accountability partners now because I'm about to say it out loud. I'm embarking on a 12-week hormonal natural reset through nutrition and exercise and healing that is, I'm hoping, will help to support me in being realistic about where I'm at right now and giving myself the best chance for optimal health in the state that I'm in.
Welcome to Unapologetic Uplift. I am your host, Kim Staples, joined by my beautiful co-host, Ianthe Morrow. Welcome. How are we today?
Well, I have hope today. I want to dive into a subject of the relationship between our physical body health, symptoms that we might be having, and our emotional and spiritual state and health. And that connection. And I'm going to start with telling you a story. I've been experiencing some very severe gastrointestinal symptoms that have made me very upset. It includes feeling like I'm being squeezed from the inside, just where like a bra strap might be, like feeling squeezed there. At the same time, having severe bloating, looking pregnant, just in some pretty intense stuff, really bad heartburn. I've experimented with cutting out certain foods to see if maybe eliminating gluten would help, would eliminating dairy help, doing all of the normal things that one would do. At least to me, that's normal, whatever normal is. However, it was bad enough that I thought I'm going to go to a specialist, to a gastroenterologist, because I would like to at least know from a Western medical standpoint, a diagnosis if one is needed, right? And I like to often, what I do personally, and everyone is welcome. This is not medical advice. This is my own personal story. But I like to go to Western medicine for diagnosis, and I like to back it up with holistic healing and help holistically and naturally once I am aware of what is going on physically. Sometimes, of course, if I have an emergency, I do require Western medicine help. So that's it. So that's the story. I go to the gastroenterologist, and I'm expecting what I usually get at this kind of a doctor, a specialist. What I've noticed, if you're a specialist in one area of the body, that means you're probably likely going to want me to do something invasive in that way. So I'm going in yesterday, I went in and I'm thinking, oh, he's probably going to want to immediately get me to do a scan or immediately tell me to try a medication or who knows. But here's what happened. He starts to ask me about my symptoms. So I tell him, he says, and I said, it started exactly 2 weeks ago. And I knew that it started 2 weeks ago because I had made a mental note when my body went haywire. And I told you that it did, Kim. So we're on the same page here. So I knew, and it was exactly 2 weeks to the day that I was at that appointment with the gastroenterologist. So I'm telling him the symptoms. And he looks at me and he says, what did you do? And I thought, are you gaslighting me? Like, what? What do you mean? What did I do? I'm here. I have symptoms. What are you talking about? I kind of laughed like that. And he said, no, you did something. You did something different. What did you do? And I had been holding back because when he first said it, the first thing that popped in my head was I had a healing session with you, Kim. So I had a healing session. You were privy to.
Right.
You led me through it was a chakra healing, specifically healing a chakra, that you have this very special way, a method where you've created a method so that you have the chakras are aligned to an emotional trigger that occurred in early childhood to each chakra that then sets you on a path in your life for certain things, right? And in clearing those, we get to heal. Well, I had done that and I had a massive breakthrough that day. When we were clearing that chakra 2 weeks ago, at that 2 week ago before the gastroenterologist appointment, whenever you're watching this, I had this big, massive breakthrough where I remembered something that changed my personality. It was an event when I was 5 years old that was so monumental. It was such a pivotal moment in my development, early development in my brain and body, that I felt that it changed my personality. And I had not realized that until you led me through that. Now, was I going to tell that to my gastroenterologist? Was I going to say, it was actually, I had a spiritual healing since you asked? Well, yes, I did, because I'm Ianthe and I'm unapologetic and you're an unapologetic uplift. So I did. I said, okay, well, and I started crying and I said, okay, you really want to know? Something did happen. You're right. I did do something. I did a spiritual healing with my dear friend Kim Staples. And he says, well, there you go. Now, I thought he was going to say, woo, you're crazy, cuckoo. And instead, he said, that's it. That is where your symptoms are coming from. That was an event that seriously, he said, and he said this, he said, your brain starts in your gut and then it travels to your physical brain. But it starts in your gut. And when something is off in your gut, I know it's something you're processing, something emotional. He didn't say the word spiritual. You and I can say that. Something spiritual. He said emotional. To me, all related. So that's right. My story. And that is, when you ask me, how am I doing? I am now on a journey, a beginning journey of figuring this out. So I can not only you helped me to find this thing, this occurrence that had happened early in childhood, to clear that. I am going through things to do that. And I'm now noticing I don't have, even from just saying that to him out loud, I'm not having the same acute symptoms in the last 24 hours. How about that?
Yeah, I love that. Talk about some affect labeling right there. And so much to unpack there. But yes, of course, I actually talked in detail on one of our episodes about the 5 bodies. So the physical, the energetic, the mental, spiritual, and mental bodies. So I'm not going to dive into that because I did go in depth on another episode. And if anybody wants more details about that, let me know and I can send you that specific episode. But we are one, right? We are so connected. And speaking of the brain being in the gut, there's actually a brain in your stomach, the enteric nervous system. It is literally a network of over 100 million neurons lining your gut. So scientists literally call this your second brain. So of course, there's a very big connection, and your emotional and mental state will undoubtedly affect your gut health. And this is why we always say you have to treat yourself as a whole, right? You can't just treat the spiritual, the energetic, the physical, the mental. It is one system. And I absolutely love that you went to a medical doctor, and there are so many more doctors now that are looking at the big picture and recognizing and realizing, yeah, we do need to do spiritual and energetic work to treat the system. And when it comes to these spiritual, mental, emotional, you get to the root by getting to it energetically. And usually it is a gentle process, but sometimes I have experienced
it's not.
Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's not. And, I'm kind of like, talking about that with caution because I don't want to turn anybody off of it. But we also want to be realistic and open. And sometimes this is a result of doing energetic work, which was what we were doing.
I want to bring something up. I want to bring up a word of caution too, since you say that. If this does put you off, if you're listening to this and thinking, oh, well, I don't want to do spiritual work if it's going to create a situation where I have a pregnant looking belly and horrible heartburn and I'm running to the bathroom. I want to just tell you, well, what if you don't do it? What if you have something like that that's hiding in your psyche, in your spirit, and you don't look at it? You're not willing to. I want to promise you something. It may seem like you're skating by, but it will come up. And the dis-ease, the word disease, the dis-ease that lives in your body, if you're not willing to look at it, doesn't make it go away.
Exactly.
So I just want to implore you, you can do this. My point is, it's far more uncomfortable in the long term to ignore things that might help us than it is to just not do it because it might be uncomfortable.
Exactly. Yeah. And you were having physical symptoms of pain and other physical symptoms prior to, right? So it's not like you weren't suffering because of it. And then there's so much other suffering that takes place when we avoid it. So yes, well, we may end up having a few side effects that are not the most pleasant occasionally. It's nothing in comparison. And I mean, when you are treated with medicine, there are potential side effects. With any type of treatment, there are always going to be potential side effects. And I would say that while these side effects have been unpleasant, I've experienced much worse side effects with medicine or having to go for surgery or whatever the thing is.
Oh, I have too. And I want to recommend a book. If you're new to this, if you're new to the connection of your body and emotional health and spirit, there's the book by Louise Hay, which is extremely palatable and easy to digest. You can so easily look up any physical symptom that you have, and she gives you an affirmation connected to that to show you the emotional connection to that particular ailment. So you can look up anything. You can look up, it's funny, I've looked up things and I thought, does she have one for this? And she did. And what was it? It was an ingrown toenail. I think it was an ingrown toenail. I was like, why do I get reoccurring ingrown toenails at this one point in my life? I don't now. And it's interesting, but you look something up like that and she'll have this emotional reason why. And then she gives you an affirmation. So again, if you're new to this, and I think most people listening to Unapologetic Uplift, you're probably not new to this and you're saying, oh, I got this. I understand that, the mind-body connection. But if you are new, I just want to welcome that as an option for you, that Louise Hay book. And I think it's called Heal the Body, but it's Louise Hay is Lois, I think. Does she spell it that way? Or is it, anyway, I'll figure it out. If you need that, a link to it, you can ask me because you know that we always respond to our DMs. But I want to say, since you mentioned, Kim, yes, I had symptoms before. And as I was going through my health history with this doctor yesterday, it reminded me too, that when things really started to go haywire in my body was in 2020. I had I'm going to call it, I don't care if this is controversial, I had weaponized COVID. I had COVID before there was a COVID test available. I had COVID in January of 2020. It hit every part of my body. I have never been that sick in my entire life. And some of the symptoms were very much gastrointestinal. So I had, besides a double ear infection, I had a cough that was so bad that felt like an elephant was sitting on my chest. And when I coughed, I had to hold myself because I thought that my ribs were going to break as I was coughing. My weakness was so epic that getting out of the bed to walk to the bathroom was one of the hardest things I'd physically did. I had no sense of smell at all. And as a candle designer and fragrance designer, I remember, and again, nobody was talking about COVID. It didn't exist yet in the media. Nobody was saying it. It was January 2020. So I had no reference point to look up like, oh, all these symptoms are pointing to that. But I took my candle, my chai candle, and I stuck it in my face and I could not detect the scent at all. And I started crying and I said to my husband, I can't smell this. Something is so wrong. And I went to the emergency room 3 times. They could not figure out what was wrong with me. Since that day, as I started to get well, I've had recurring heartburn. So it's been 6 years of recurring heartburn. That started then. So that was one of the physical things. I have reoccurring slipped discs, lower back. That is a recurring thing. That peaked for me in 2021 when I went to the emergency room because I could not only could I not walk, I couldn't move. And I thought, oh, my internal organs are bursting. This is the worst pain I've ever experienced. They said, you have slipped discs. That was 2021. So you see, like, I have been having these things all along. And interestingly, they are, if you connect them to the work you do, Kim, they are connected to chakras, which then if we can go back in the work that you do and connect them to the original, I would say, emotional and spiritual triggers that began in early childhood that are connected to those, I can start to piece together what's happening. And
Right.
all of this while my hormones are off and I have thyroid issues and that I'm always dealing with. So I think all this to say, if you're very sensitive like me, I physicalize my emotional life. If I'm not, and the thing about it is that this is actually a bit of a curse. I'm just going to say, I feel like it's a little bit of a curse that I have so much patience and natural ability to handle things on the outside emotionally. I am that person that is emotionally stable in almost any situation. That
Right.
is, I'd say that's a curse because it's betraying the truth, which is when things are really, really hard, I still seem like I'm fine. Guess what?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not. And my body is telling me that now.
Yeah. Yeah. So your gut and brain are in constant conversation through the vagus nerve. So this isn't just a you thing, it's an everybody thing.
Exactly.
But most people aren't as in tune with their body and they don't notice it, or they do notice it and they brush it off, or they go to a doctor who doesn't look at the whole picture and they get diagnosed with something else. The specific chakra we were working on that day is exactly where those discs are too, right? It's just absolutely wild to me how when we are just a little child, we create what it is an energetic imprint that happens. It's based on the stories that we tell ourselves when things happen, and it creates this core trauma energetic imprint. And that energetic imprint creates these physical symptoms. The longer that it is left there, not only does it cause physical symptoms, it causes emotional, mental, spiritual, all of these other symptoms. And I am just so grateful that we were able to do that work that day and that you're already seeing significant change. And I'm excited to see what else happens, not in terms of symptoms, but in terms of relief from other things that have been going on.
Yeah. And it's all connected to that question that I've mentioned before. What are you pretending not to know? And if we ask ourselves that question, it's those hidden, and it's also what we call shadow work, isn't it?
Yeah.
All related. It's what is that thing that is lurking, that's still there for us, but we're just pushing it away because we don't want to deal with it because it's yucky. It's not fun to deal with. But guess what? It doesn't go away just by virtue of us ignoring it. And so I think my point of this, of sharing my own personal story with all of you, is to implore you to allow yourself to heal. And you are welcome to reach out to Kim and she can take you through this chakra. She can explain to you how she does this and offer you to work with her. And I highly recommend it if you feel called to talk to Kim about this and uncovering those key points in your life that created certain things that now live in your body, and get rid of them and clear them. You could not be in better hands than Kim. So definitely reach out to her about that. But even if it's just journaling, if it's just sitting down and writing down, what do you think is hiding for you? And no one needs to see this but you.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And there are a lot of great resources if you're feeling like you want to dive into shadow work, but maybe you're not ready to work with somebody or you don't have the resources to be able to hire somebody to help you through it. There is Existential Kink by Carolyn Elliott. I really like that one. Some people will have to read it a few times because it can be a little bit foreign, because essentially it is about facing those icky parts of yourself that you're ashamed of and embarrassed, and learning to love them and learning to actually get off on your deranged kinks. So for a lot of people, especially people that are trying the whole love and light, it can be a lot. But it's such an important, essential piece of self-development is the shadow work. We can do the mindset work. We can do all the love and light. But the reality is we all have the shadow side, and it has to be, we have to learn to love that part of us too, as fucked up as it might be. The more fucked up, the
Yeah,
better, as far as I'm concerned.
yeah, yeah, and it's so. I love that we're giving resources here that you can have for free. We always want to do that. We never want you to feel that healing is inaccessible to you, and we have also a whole episode on that. It is accessible to you. You just have to be willing and wanting to do that work and to improve yourself and your spiritual, emotional, and physical body. So we had a whole full disclosure, we had a whole episode that we did around menopause and hormones, and the entire thing, the audio got messed up, and so I guess we weren't supposed to share that. But I did want to mention that I am dealing also with, I went into full menopause, no perimenopause in my life, full menopause. The hormones of a 65-year-old woman is what I was told by my practitioner at the time, when I was 39 years old. So I haven't bled since I was 40 years old. I have not had any ovulation for a very long time. And I say this because this is part of the conversation around ignoring certain things in our health, allowing there to be shadows that we don't want to look at. Because I had gone into menopause so early, I just refused to believe that I would have any of the symptoms that I'm not going to own it. I'm too young for this. It doesn't exist. I'm just going to take hormone replacement therapy and pretend like I am not in menopause. And I did that for over 15 years. And now I'm at a point where at 55 years old, I am experiencing symptoms. My whole body has gone through yet another metamorphosis change. And I think it happened around 2022 when my father died. I went into massive caretaker mode. It was extraordinarily tragic. His death was very tragic and very difficult and fast. And I really did. And I went off the hormones at that moment, thinking, I don't want to have anything clouding my vision here as I go through this transition with my dad. And I gained 20 pounds. From doing nothing but the air, my whole body changed in that year in 2022. Yet again, after experiencing the hardships of 2020 and 2021, there was 2022. So it was like health, bam, 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 bam. Well, I've decided now, as part of all of this healing and the work that we do, Kim, is that I am no longer pretending that I'm not in menopause, pretending that I'm too young for menopause, pretending that menopause is nothing. I'm not pretending that anymore. And I've gotten very real for myself with what I'm going through actually. And I'm about to embark. I want you all to know this. You're all my accountability partners now because I'm about to say it out loud. I'm embarking on a 12-week hormonal natural reset through nutrition and exercise and healing that I'm hoping will help to support me in being realistic about where I'm at right now and giving myself the best chance for optimal health in the state that I'm in.
So good. I'm so glad you're doing that. I'm so glad that you're taking care of yourself and prioritizing you. So celebrating you so hard for that. And I am 42 and in perimenopause, still having regular periods, but we were talking about on the episode that Ianthe mentioned, I recently started hormone replacement therapy as well. Not because I want to pretend that it's not happening, but because I am obsessed with feeling, looking, and being my best. And while my symptoms aren't intense, I don't want to experience the intense symptoms. And a lot of people might say, well, wow, as somebody who's like a holistic healer and wants to do everything natural, why aren't you trying to do that naturally? And I have balanced my hormones to the best that I can naturally through diet and exercise. But also, I am a root cause healer. hence why I love energy work so much. And I believe I don't want to medicate something to mask symptoms. I want to get to the root of the issue. And the root of the issue here is that my hormones are lowering. So I am going to take hormone replacement therapy to elevate them to a level where I'm not going to have these nasty symptoms. I haven't had hot flashes. Symptoms that I've had, I'll share because I know there are women the same age as me that are very likely having these things. Brain fog, low energy. Oh my gosh. I'm like,
Do you have any pain in your
speaking of
joints? I'm like thinking of the
brain
ones that I
fog.
have. Hair changes, pain in the joints. I don't know if you have any of those. Interruption in sleep interruption.
A little bit of the sleep, mood, like that. The big things for me are like moodiness, specifically when I have PMS, like extreme moodiness, being like when I have PMS, wanting to divorce my husband, and then I start bleeding and I'm madly in love with him again. So yeah, I would say those are the big ones. My libido not as intense as it once was, and I get that. Like when we put in effort and work on that, it is good to go. But we haven't always had to put the same amount of effort into it. So
Yeah, you're
I count
noticing
that as a
change in that.
symptom.
Yes.
Having to pee a lot more, especially at night.
Mm.
So I just started the hormone replacement therapy like while I had PMS, and so that was like just less than 2 weeks ago. And I do notice a difference with that. I did notice that I didn't get anxiety when I had PMS, but I was super cranky and probably even more so than normal. But apparently that's to be expected as you're just starting. So we'll see. I guess it takes like 30 days or so to adjust, but I will keep you guys posted. And I still don't feel that I'm at my normal energy. With that said, I'm just coming off of my bleed. It's not the most high energy time of month for me, but we'll see. That's the big thing that I'm hoping, is that it gets rid of that brain fog. And yeah, so I don't know if it's going to be what everybody says it is. I'll be sure to let you know, and I sure hope so.
I hope so too. I think you will. I do think you're going to feel better. And yeah, and I'll keep you all posted too about what I'm doing. I may, in fact, end up not needing, I'm told if through this 12 weeks, I may end up not needing to be on the hormone replacement. But as I told you before, I regret going off of it that 1 year that I did. It really messed up my body. And I don't know. Yeah. And I do judge. I will tell you, I judge myself sometimes about needing pharmaceutical drugs to be regulated. I do have judgment around that, and I have prejudice against that. And I don't, for others, I want everyone else to do what they need. But for me, I'm very hard on myself about that stuff. I tell you this all out loud because we're on Unapologetic Uplift. Again, we're here to take masks off, to be real with you. I don't like that I have to rely, and there's a few reasons why. So one of the reasons I don't like to rely on pharmaceutical drugs is because guess what? I am so aware that there's a supply chain that could frickin' stop. And then what? What do I do if I can't actually go to a pharmacy and get those drugs to put into my body? That does worry me. And that you might say that's catastrophic thinking. I don't fucking care. The truth is, I cannot control because I don't make them. I don't source them. I don't grow the things to make them and have the laboratory to make them. And I'm aware that what is outside of my control, I can't fully control. So there is always that part. And I think that comes from I have hypervigilance. I am a person that you want me with you in an emergency because I'm going to know where the exit is. I'm going to be able to get us out quickly and safely. That's who I am. I've always been that way. We could go into why, but I've always been that way. So that is one of the issues for me, is I just don't know that if my body is dependent on this thing that I can't know is always going to be there for me. That worries me. The other thing I don't like that I judge for myself is that I feel that we're all healers and that we all have the ability to heal, and that our connection to God, source, whatever you want to call it, if we're really, really an open channel to that and we ask for the healing, we will be able to be healed. I really believe that. And at the same time, if I believe that for real, then why am I having to take these drugs and go to these doctors? So there's a little bit of a, because I'm not perfect, everybody, guess what? Because I'm not perfect, because I do have doubts, because I do have limitations, because I'm always learning. So anyway, back to you, but that's where I'm at with
It's a dissonance. It's a dissonance. But you don't need to be healed from menopause, right? It's not an illness or anything wrong with you. While there are symptoms that we want to manage. Thank you for sharing that though, because it just shows in real time that you are human and we all experience this form of cognitive dissonance from time to time. And it's like, this is our belief and this doesn't perfectly align with that. So it's like, ooh.
I know. And it's the same thing with my hair. I could use my hair as an example. I've been growing out the gray, right? So you can see I have silver, if you want to call it, if you want to make it a pretty word, silver. Okay. I've got silver coming in hot. It's just like unbelievable how much is coming in. And I don't like seeing myself with part silver, part something else, part something. Like I have all these colors, and I've tried to tell myself so many different stories around it. One is, I look better with this because nature knows best, and it makes my eyes pop, and it's fun to see that the color's changing and life is life. I'm growing older and it's a beautiful thing to embrace. I want to believe that with my whole heart, and I don't every day. I some days do. Some days I look at it and say, I am going to just dye it again. Do I go back to being blonde, or do I go with the darker color? Because I think the darker shade is nice. And I have these conversations. Then I'm making myself wrong because I'm saying, but that's putting more chemicals on my head. It's not really accepting where I am right now. But I just want to be beautiful. I just want to be beautiful again. So
there's nothing wrong with that.
I know.
I get highlights in my hair too to make it lighter. And yeah, no, I totally get that though, because I prefer to do things naturally too. And when I'm using something that isn't natural, I can get in my head a little bit about it too. So much so that I was like, I'm not going to dye my hair anymore. I'm not going to get my eyebrows done because I got them laminated, nails, all the things. And I did give up everything for a while, but I didn't feel beautiful. And it's not because I don't think I'm naturally beautiful, but I like to accentuate the beauty. Actually, on the podcast that was released today, I talked about how I just want to be as much me as I can possibly be. And that is part of me, liking to look pretty, liking to look beautiful. And we only live once. So I'm not going to drive myself crazy about the whole non-toxic, everything natural. I'm going to do my best, and I'm going to make as many healthy choices as much as possible. But sometimes I'm going to do the unhealthy thing too, because it makes me feel good and I like it. It's not like I'm pounding back booze, smoking, doing drugs. Every few months I get my hair dyed. If I get my nails done, if I get my brows done, it makes me feel good and I can live with it.
And right now I'm playing with the silver coming in and letting it, and we'll see how long I do that. Maybe forever, maybe not. And I won't, but you know, the beauty is we can make ourselves wrong, and then we can recognize that, and then we can talk to ourselves in a kinder way. And I'm just showing you that I don't do this whole thing perfectly at all. It's perfectly imperfect. And I appreciate that I have an opportunity to continue to get better and learn. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, that's really what life is about, in my opinion. In my opinion, is that growth and evolution that never, ever ends. And just while we're on the topic of gray hair, I saw this video the other day of this mom, and her daughter noticed she's got those little sparse little bits, right? And she's the same. And she has a little girl, a little bit younger than my daughter. And she saw them in her hair and she goes, Mom, you've got sparkles in your hair. how did you get those? And her mom's like, what? And she looks, she's like giggling. And she almost said, oh no, those aren't sparkles. It's gray hair because I'm getting old. But she was like, oh yeah, I've earned these. And they're magical. And she created this whole story. So now her daughter is like, oh my gosh, I can't wait till I grow up and get sparkles in my hair. And I just thought that was the most beautiful thing in the whole wide world, and really such a great way to embrace your natural beauty and to show your daughter. Our little girls are constantly hearing all of this beauty BS, and girls naturally compare themselves to others. And it's just so beautiful when we can offer them something like that.
I love that story. And my daughter is in her 20s and she says, Mom, I love the silver coming into your hair. And that means more to me. When I think about that, that's what stops me from covering it up more than anything else.
I love that. Yeah, it does look beautiful. And I know some women that are like full on white.
Well, I want that. That's cool to me.
Yeah, that looks incredible too. I'm like, holy smokes, who would have thought that, you know?
I'm getting there.
And more and more women are embracing it and doing it. And I think it's absolutely beautiful. And yeah, you have to do what works for you and what allows you to feel your best.
And I'm going to ask everyone to think about this. When was the last time that you really felt beautiful? And think about that. And then look at what was happening in your life. And was it because you just got your hair done and your nails done? Maybe it was. Was it because of someone that said something to you, noticed you, someone that you respect? Was it because of something that you accomplished? I just think it's interesting to look at what are those things and what is, I mean, first of all, we could have a whole podcast and I would welcome it on what does it mean? What does beauty mean? What does beauty mean? Of course, we'll all have different definitions of what it means, but when was the last time you felt really beautiful? And if I ask myself that, the last time I felt really beautiful was when my best friend said it to me. Makes me teary, but my best friend said, "You're so beautiful." And that made me feel beautiful, even though that day I wasn't feeling beautiful in the mirror. I think it's about, so I think if I'm really thinking about what is that then? To me, beauty is when you're truly seen for who you are and loved for who you are, because that's what it felt like in that moment. And that made me feel it made me feel so beautiful. And it wasn't about my hair in that moment. Now, I also felt beautiful recently when I curled my hair on my own. I'm like, oh, I like it again. So it's the physical and it's the emotional and spiritual.
Yeah, I love that. I'm also really fortunate in that I have a husband that tells me I'm beautiful every single day, multiple times a day. And sometimes I think I take that for granted, but it really does help me to feel beautiful. And it doesn't matter. He thinks I'm beautiful when I think I look absolutely horrendous and terrible. And in those moments where I feel ugly, him saying that to me is just like, oh, it does make me feel beautiful.
Well, listen, everyone, you should have a partner, a best friend, a lover who reminds you how beautiful you are, especially in those moments when you're not feeling it, and that being spoken out loud. And sometimes it's not. I mean, my husband says it multiple times a day, but not in words. He's very funny. He speaks a lot in nonverbal communication. But I still get it, and I still feel beautiful in his eyes. So it is really nice to have that reflection, that beautiful reflection.
Well, I think it's the perfect time for us to wrap up this episode. And please leave us a comment. Make sure you're subscribed. Take a screenshot. Share us to your Instagram stories and let us know what you enjoyed about this episode. We have some really exciting guests lined up. So stay tuned and we love you.
Yes. And now if you're watching us on Spotify, it's not only listening, but watching. We now have video available on Spotify as well, which is pretty exciting. And you can let me know if you want, weigh in, silver or not to silver. I'm willing to hear what you have to say about it.
I'm going with silver, but Yeah, I'm curious to
Yeah.
see what others, if anybody else
I
has
think
an
I'm
opinion.
letting it. Yeah, I think I'm going silver too. All right. Love you all. Bye.